Michael Manley, and I'm excited to be sharing with you today some of the basics of this, the French horn. A lot of folks look at the horn with all of its complicated tubing here and the fact that it's kind of eating my right hand and pointing the wrong way, and they think it must be really difficult to play. And while it's true that unlike the other brass, we play in what's called the upper part of the harmonic series, more on that in part 2, and this makes the targets very, very small that we're trying to hit. Someone once said that playing the French horn was like trying to shoot flies with a BB gun. And it's not quite that bad, but it does have its challenges. But the thing is, nothing is hard when you love it. So if you're drawn to the unique sound of the French horn, then the time you spend learning won't feel like work, it should feel like fun. Today, I'm going to focus on where to begin with this unique instrument. So if you're completely new to the horn or are returning after years away, or if you're a teacher of beginning horn players, this video is for you. Now, I've gone in and out of performance in my varied career. I've been a full-time working musician for a period of years and also spent years away from the horn as an arts and labor advocate. I've also had some huge obstacles thrown my way, which forced me to go back to square one more than once in my career. Many years ago, in my second year of graduate study, I was mugged, clocked in the face, and my jaw was broken in 3 places. I was thankful it wasn't a lot worse, but any injury to the face when you're a wind or brass player is potentially devastating. After surgery, I spent 6 weeks with my jaw wired shut. Then I had to relearn how to play with a new mouth. I could hardly make a sound that first day, and that's when I discovered that I had permanent nerve damage here on the lower left quadrant of my lip and chin. So I somehow regrouped after that and made slow progress. And after I finished my degree, I even won a couple auditions, subbed on Broadway, and got my career going. But just as things were taking off, I had to get orthodontic braces. It turned out my teeth had been rearranged like dice in a Yahtzee cup from the mugging years earlier, leaving me with a misaligned jaw. And yes, I'm talking about those metal braces that make your mouth look like a truck grill. I might be the only professional horn player in the world who held a job with a mouthful of metal. I played the very demanding Broadway tour of Miss Saigon at the time, which was like running a marathon 8 times a week, even without braces. Now after that, I had to learn to play with orthodontic retainers and finally readjust to a completely brand new mouth. So I'm a bit of a survivor when it comes to the horn. And through all this relearning, I've had to break down my playing to the most basic building blocks several times and really consider what I'm doing, or just as important, what not to do. What I'm sharing with you today is based on that journey of constant reinvention, as well as my coaching work with raw beginners in middle school and high school band programs. Breath, the inhale, blow, the exhale, and buzz, the vibration. In that order, these provide the foundations for all brass playing. And there's a lot of intention we need to place on these even before we pick up the instrument. We're going to take them one by one, then put them all together. The breath. So, the breath, or the inhale, it needs to be full and relaxed, sort of like what happens when you yawn. There's a ton of stuff out there on breathing, so today I'm going to focus just on one simple technique to check that our inhale is proper. And it is called the finger breath. Now, I learned the finger breath from this brilliant flutist and teacher, Keith Underwood, and it's a fantastic tool, especially for you band and orchestra teachers out there. First, we're going to point our fingers to the ceiling. Then, open your mouth as much as you might do for your yawn. Next, we're going to place the lips against these, we're going to place our fingers against the lips, and then we're going to inhale. You hear that deep whoosh? That tells me that my neck and my throat are relaxed and open. And if you get the other sound, that kind of high whistling sound, almost like you've been startled, you know that there's a lot of tension here and you're not getting the air in that you need. Now we can practice this either slowly or quickly. Regardless of how fast or slow we do the finger breath, we want to make sure we get that whoosh and not the whine. So that's the finger breath. The exhale or blow. Just like when you breathe normally or when you yawn, we don't want to hold the air after we fill up with our breath. We want to immediately release it. You'll notice when we increase the airspeed, there is some engagement of these intercostal muscles here. And to get a sense of this, I'm going to ask you to pretend like you're blowing out birthday candles. And notice what happens in your chest and gut. Now this engagement will vary depending on where we are in the register and the volume of our playing, but just get a sense of what happens here when you do that. Now I'm going to practice the finger breaths and blow together in time, varying the beats on my inhale and my exhale. As a general rule, I like to exhale twice as long as my inhale. So if I'm taking a 2-beat breath, I might exhale for 4 beats. If I take a 3-beat breath, I might exhale for 6 beats. So that is the coordination of our finger breath and our blow. Remember not to hold the air and practice these together. So the buzz. Every sound is created by a vibration. And for most musical instruments, that vibration is actually part of the instrument. Think of a string on a guitar or the head of a drum. Now with brass instruments, the vibrating surface is actually here at our lips. And the instrument is really just a fancy amplifier for what happens here. Now the way we set the vibrating lips or the buzz on the mouthpiece is called the embouchure. We're going to start by making a buzz without the instrument or the mouthpiece. Now I'm going to ask you to start to say the word dim, and notice where your corners land. Dim. Pay attention to the fact that they're not so wide like a smile, but they're kind of held in. Now from here, imagine blowing on a hot cup of coffee or tea. Notice how the corners firm up a bit when you do this. This is basically the structure of our embouchure. Now I'm going to take a good finger breath, and I'm going to blow on that hot coffee for 2 beats. Then I'm going to slowly bring my lips together to form a buzz. Now this is going to tickle or feel weird at first, but you'll get used to it. Now notice that I let the air initiate the buzz. That the air always comes first, then the lips, then the vibration. Once you mastered this, you can kind of play around with playing in different registers. The low brass are going to work a lot in that basement register that I just landed in. But for horn and trumpet, you want to stay kind of up here. So that's how we form our embouchure. Now when we add the mouthpiece, for French horn players, we're going to want about 2/3 upper lip and 1/3 lower lip. I'm going to experiment with different placements to see what kind of sound I get and how the placement affects the sound. In the middle there sounds the best to me. You want to strive for a nice, full, healthy buzz, and you want the sound to be full and not thin. The paper test. A good way to test that the relationship of the air, the breath, and the blow, and the vibration, the buzz, are healthy is with a piece of paper. Now a regular sheet of printer or notebook paper will do, and I'm going to hold this in front of me about 5 inches away, and now I'm going to buzz against it. You'll notice that the paper moves, that it's providing me a visual feedback of the air flow. Now I'm going to do the same test with the mouthpiece. You see the paper's moving. Now a lot of times with beginning students, I'll give them this test and nothing will happen. I'll get something like this. That tells me that they're not really moving the air, that they're kind of forcing the buzz from the oral cavity and not really blowing. So if I have a student that can't grasp this concept immediately, what I'll do is I'll have them kind of just put their mouth over the mouthpiece and blow air. This gives them an idea of what's happening with their muscles in their stomach engaging to move that air, and also gives them this strong visual. Then we'll move on to the buzz. So what I love about both the paper test and the finger breath is that they provide instant external feedback, one oral and one visual, and they can be taught over Zoom or in other methods where we don't necessarily have to be in the same room with the student for them to get that useful feedback. So, the finger breath and the paper test. With these, you can ensure that your blow, your breath, and your buzz are all going to be coordinated. Now that we have the breath, blow, and buzz down, we can move on to adding the instrument. Now I'm going to start with a relaxed long note with a healthy breath and blow that will initiate my buzz. I'm going to play a written middle C at about a mezzo forte. Now this is a concert F as I'm on the F horn. Notice that I'm not using the tongue to start the note. I'm just letting the air and the lips work together. Here's where I stray from method books. Most would have me go to the next chromatic note here, either a C sharp or a B. Or they might have me go to the next diatonic note in the scale, a D. I'm actually going to go to the next harmonic note, which is going to be the E above that C. Now I'm going to start on the E and go back down. Now I'm going to add another note north of that E, the G, which is going to form the C major triad. Now, I've intentionally removed other important elements to our playing so that I can just focus on the foundation, the breath, the blow, and the buzz. I've removed the fingers as I'm not putting any valves down, and I'm not changing the length of the horn. I've removed the tongue also, as I'm usually only using the air to initiate my buzz. And I'm also slurring between the notes, ensuring that my air is the foundation and forcing my lips to jump to that next note. And I've removed dynamics, staying in this mezzo piano to mezzo forte range. I'm saving all these other elements for later so that I can focus here on the relationship between the air and the vibration, the breath, the blow, and the buzz. By removing everything else, my body is free to learn through sense memory how the air and vibration naturally coordinate to move throughout the harmonic series. This breath, blow, and buzz coordination, which these exercises are building on the harmonics, is the butter, eggs, and flour of horn playing. We can make 1,000 different cakes and pastries later, but we need the batter to start with. Now I'm going to add the next two notes, one higher and one lower, staying in that key of F. You'll notice that the notes get closer together as we go higher and further apart as we go lower. Now I'm going to add two more notes, bringing me to a full 2-octave range. To show you how this relates to horn playing, I'm going to cover the same distance with the valves the way I would normally play in music. So I covered that 2-octave range with a scale, but what happens with my air and my lips is essentially the same. So practice your harmonics, get that relationship of your breath, your blow, and your buzz, and you'll be good to go. As we add more notes in the harmonic series, we can start making up melodic exercises out of these, sort of games, if you will, that help build our facility and our flexibility. I'm going to add 2 more notes to the upper range. Now that's going to the 3rd above C, and I'm going to now take that same range and make a kind of a game out of it by only playing 4 notes at a time and starting on successive harmonics. It'll sound something like this. So this can be done in all the keys. I can do it a half step lower by hitting the 2nd valve. Or I can go even higher by doing B-flat combinations. So now I'm going to actually add 2 more notes going all the way to the 5th above our tonic. And this is where things can get really interesting. Now you'll notice with the harmonics that some of them are kind of out of tune. Don't worry about intonation at this stage. It's really focusing now on our air and our buzz. So later, when we get to the valves, we're going to really pay a lot more attention to our intonation. But right now, we're really focusing on just that air-buzz combination. I have to credit my great teacher, William Purvis, for these exercises. I've used them all the time in my career, especially coming back after a long time off or after an injury. Now, in addition to playing these exercises in all the keys, which I recommend you do in your playing and in your study, we can also add more notes. So now I'm going to add even 2 more notes above that G. Now I'm going to add 2 more to take me all the way to the upper C. Covering a full 3 octaves. You can start on different harmonics and make your own exercises out of these. Now later on, I can add the tongue, different dynamics, and different tempi. While we don't often play on these harmonics in our music, spending time on these harmonic slurs in different keys in every practice session will not only cover the entire range of the instrument, but will ensure that your breath, your blow, and your buzz are working naturally and easily. This will provide a solid foundation on which you can build your skills and grow as a horn player.